Hey, Artist Caleb here, back with another little gouache painting, a little gouache sketch. And today we're going to be painting a little main street here. We're just gonna brush in some of these happy little buildings here, and some nice storefronts in a street, and that's gonna be our little secret right there. How's everybody doing, by the way? I hope you're doing great and that you're having a blast this summer, that you're doing a lot of fun things. I've been swimming a lot, actually. We've been swimming a lot, I should say. And, oh man, I was born for the water. I'm practically a fish. So it's just been a dream come true. I really love doing that a ton. By the way, I call these little paintings sketches because they're fast, you know? Only a few hours, maybe even a couple of days at the most, but these are just fast, fun pieces, you know? Not something serious that would take a couple of weeks or even a couple of months to do. So that's why I call it a quick sketch. The subject that I'm painting here is a pretty typical little Midwestern town. The thing that's kind of unique about this, I find, is that it's laid out on a curve. It was planned on a curve, so it's kind of tricky. The angle typically would be pretty straightforward, just, you know, the perspective, working out perspective. But in this case, it's a little bit trickier. Painting structures like buildings and houses, it's just a fun thing to do. It's not too terribly difficult, and it's good practice and all that sort of stuff. But if you want to see some absolutely astounding gouache paintings of architecture, of buildings, look up Eugene Gallion-Lalou. Eugene Gallion-Lalou. Probably a French-speaking person would say, "No, you said it wrong. The Gallion-Lalou is silent, and you only say Eugene, and then you put a pop at the end of it. You say Eugene." Now that's some painting that'll put some hair on your chest. And if you already have hair on your chest, then it'll fall out and regrow quickly and even thicker than it was before. Recently, in a conversation that I had with somebody, the subject of gouache came up. And the individual noted that gouache was an opaque watercolor. And, well, that's not entirely true. It used to be opaque. It used to be that the companies that made it opaque. In other words, they included an opacifier. And that's not a thing that you stick in a baby's mouth when a baby's crying and stuff. It just means that it makes it non-translucent. So it's like mixing white with a color so that you can't just see through it like a translucent watercolor. But nowadays, most of the companies that make good gouache are just making it out of pure pigment or a pure mineral that makes it translucent. And then what they do is they mix in a binder, something like gum arabic or honey. And interestingly, the one that I'm using here, I think, is Windsor and Newton, and so it's probably just gum arabic. But I do have a set that is made with honey. And by the way, I wouldn't just rush out and you know, like make yourself a peanut butter and gouache sandwich because it's got honey in it, because I'm pretty sure that some of the minerals used to make the pigment are probably not all that good for you. Painting these buildings here reminds me of all the rooftop adventures that I had when I was a kid. Particularly when I used to throw rocks into a vat of grease from about 6 stories up. Consider how rules are made. Imagine a restaurant, and it has a big bin full of grease that it recycles from its fryers. And I'm positive that at some point one of the rules was always keep the lid closed. And I have no idea what the ramifications of my actions were ultimately, but I can tell you that it must have been fairly interesting. I would love to have learned what happened. But I used to get up on the roof, and there used to be all these stones, these rocks that were covering the pitch up there, so that when you walk across the roof, it doesn't remove your shoes and socks because it's so thick and sticky and all that stuff. And I used to go over to one corner of the rooftop, and if you look straight down below, all the way down to ground level, you would see at the backside of this ground level restaurant, it was like a little loading area, they'd have this big vat of grease, as I said. And if you chunked a rock straight down, because they'd always leave the cover open, well, at least they did for a while, you could get a rock to land right into the grease, and it would create this big crater. You'd chunk a rock, and it would go... and it'd go... Fwat! It was like... What? And it would just make this great crater. It's so... I can't even describe to you how satisfying that was for me. But I always wondered, A, where does grease get recycled? And... what is that process, and what do rocks do to that process? Because I remember that if I ever missed the opening to this big, big dumpster full of grease, that it would hit the top and it would go tong like that, and somebody invariably would always pop out of the back of the restaurant and look around for a while. Oh, here we are at the end of the video. What do you think? It was a lot of fun, right? Well, I guess that's pretty much it for this time, and I hope to see you again soon. Do me a favor if you feel like it, maybe, I don't know, subscribe or share the videos, and all the usual stuff that people say. I feel silly saying it. I probably shouldn't even say it. Anyhow, well, listen, I love you, okay? You take care and be happy. Till next time, all right? I'll see you.